everyone. Finally, we are back. It's the DTM season 2023 and the second race weekend here in Zandvoort. We're very excited, looking forward to it, but the fans had to wait for a long time to return here.
Summer, sun and in the holiday mood, but not this weekend. The DTM is back in the Dutch dunes. Season stop number 2, Zandvoort, the legendary circuit, both loved and feared at the same time.
It's up and down, it feels pretty much like a roller coaster.
A lot of high-speed corners, low-speed corners at the same time, so really technical.
Maybe ask me on Sunday because I really don't know, but I love to drive here as well.
It's a comeback that DTM fans have had to wait a long time for. It's 5 years since the cult racetrack has been on the calendar. The last winner, an old acquaintance, René Rast.
So René Rast then will head towards the timing line and take the win for Audi. René Rast wins.
Well done, well done.
Then in the Audi, now in the BMW. However, Rast won't be able to repeat his success. The three-time DTM champion will be replaced this weekend by GT specialist Dries van Toor.
I got a phone call from Andreas if I wanted to replace René, and I said, yeah, sure. I mean, would love to do a DTM race, and I would love to replace René. He has big shoes to fill up.
Also making his DTM debut is Albert Costa Balboa. The Spaniard replaces Ferrari driver Jack Aitken and knows exactly how to win at Zandvoort. Last year, Balboa took victory in the ADAC GT Masters here.
What would it mean to repeat this win here at the DTM?
To come here for first time and win. I invite you for dinner Sunday night if you want. No, but it's amazing. I mean, yeah, we had another manufacturer, another car. We were racing with another car, and we the first time we raced here with the Ferrari, so it will start from zero. But I believe with the team, so the car is strong. So we have, let's say, the tools to do a good job. We just need to keep focused, calm, and do our job, and yeah, focus in our own.
The sand and dune roller coaster is an absolute highlight for many drivers. For the only Dutchman in the field, Thierry Vermeulen, probably even a little bit more than that.
For every driver, the home track is always special, especially in Holland. We don't have that many tracks, so to be racing here, it's very cool. And Zandvoort, I mean, in general, it's an amazing track. It's now refurbished since Formula 1 is coming here. Some new banked corners. I think it's really the perfect fit for DTM.
Whether local hero, newcomer or championship contender, in Zandvoort this weekend, despite the holiday vibes, no driver wants to take a dip in form.
And so welcome to Zandvoort as we come to one of the favourite driver circuits on the calendar. The circuit is 4.259 kilometres long and extremely undulating. Turn 1 at Tarzan, that can be tricky. It's an overtaking opportunity, but as Paul de Resta found out in 2007, there are also dangers that await on the exit to the turn. Then the first of the super banked corners through turn 3, one of the corners that was reshaped and remodelled back in 2020. This historic circuit providing some terrific undulations around the back of the circuit, and then more banking through the final corner at turn 14, Arie Luijendijk turn. Degree of banking up to 18 there. The cars flat out as they exit the final turn and make their way over the start-finish line. It is beautiful weather here at Zandvoort. Hot conditions, a gentle breeze, and here at Zandvoort the weather can be quite volatile because we're just a stone's throw from the coastal town of Zandvoort itself with its long strip of golden beach. Sandy beach, and it's a great area for surfing as well, but that North Sea wind does blow across at times. Great conditions though for Albert Costa Balboa, who makes his DTM debut here at the track with Marco Wittmann, the two-time champion, an 18-time DTM race winner, having a much better qualifying here than he was able to do in his new Project 1 BMW at Oschersleben. Frank Pereira, who won the first round of the championship and took Lamborghini's first ever win in the DTM, has qualified well here. He's just behind Marco Wittmann, qualifying in 4th place. There you can see just how close we are to the circuit and to the North Sea. Lots of fans expected here this weekend whenever the DTM comes to the Netherlands. It's always extremely well supported by the very enthusiastic fans here in Holland. We're only around about 35-minute drive from Amsterdam. And there is Thierry Vermeulen, who will be hoping to go well here on his home circuit because he's the only Dutch driver in the field. He's also the youngest driver in the field, but he's already scored points on his debut weekend at Oschersleben. That's the driver that leads the championship standings, Tim Heinemann, with 2 second-place finishes in the opening weekend of the season, but not qualifying well here. He's back in 22nd spot. Marco Wittmann yet to pick up any points until this weekend, but he's got a point for qualifying in 3rd place, and he'll be hoping to get his first silverware of the season for Project One, who've come into DTM for the first time this season, but are an extremely experienced team with many Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland titles to their name. Another BMW hoping to go much better here than in the opening weekend of the season is the reigning champion Sheldon van der Linde, who just picked up a handful of points in round 1 at Oschersleben, but he's qualified on the front row of the grid here, and he was only 30 thousandths of a second away from the fastest time, which was set in qualifying by Maro Engel, claiming his 2nd ever pole position in the DTM, and it's he that starts on pole position. Showed good pace in the races at Oschersleben, but didn't really walk away with as many points as he might have hoped or deserved. But Maro is a very successful driver, multiple winner in huge events like the Nürburgring 24-hour race, the Macau GT World events as well, and he'll be looking to pick up his 2nd win in the DTM if he can. Well, we've got a legend to get the Start Your Engines boards up, Bjørn Dunkerbeck, a multiple world champion in windsurfing, over 40 titles. It's he that will lead us away then. Here we go then, ready for the rolling start, and round 3 of DTM 2023. Chris Hartley to talk you through the action, and it's Maro Engel from pole position that makes the best of the starts, but it's going to be close in the battle for 2nd. Marco Wittmann looking up the inside here of Sheldon van der Linde through Tarzan at the start of the race. I think Sheldon is just about going to fend him off though. The 2 BMWs almost coming together, and then it's the Lamborghinis of Bortolotti and Pereira on the attack in 4th and 5th positions. They are trying to get up the order as well as they come through this banking for the first time. Albert Costa Balboa in the Ferrari, who won at Le Mans a few weeks ago in the LMP2 category. He is replacing Jack Aitken, who's on IMSA sports car duty this weekend. And we've got Dries van Toor replacing René Rast this weekend as well. A full house of 27 cars then rattle their way up to the top of the circuit over the crest at turn 6. At Rob Schlottermacher corner, and on the way to the right-hander at Schleibach they go. And then you can see Thomas Preining, who was very unlucky not to get the race win. Only a penalty put him off the top step of the podium in race 2 at Oschersleben. The first of those bright liveried Porsches coming through shot there. He's only 10th on the grid for this one, but he's made a decent start to the race. Tim Heinemann, the championship leader, trying to come from 22nd on the grid on a circuit where it's difficult to overtake. But he's giving it his best shot here as they make their way through the chicane for the first time. Engel followed by van der Linde in 2nd place. Then Wittmann comes through, and then it's Pereira, the first of the Lamborghinis, up next. A good start from Kelvin van der Linde as well. From the 4th row of the grid, from 8th on the grid, he has got himself already up into the top 5. So Kelvin, who had a 6th place finish in race 1 at Oschersleben, but a retirement from race 2. The driver 3rd in the championship 2 years ago, will be looking to push on. There's smoke coming from the back of David Schumacher's Mercedes though, and also coming from the right side of the Porsche of Lauren Heinrich. So smoke belting out of those 2 cars, bodywork rubbing on tyres. It might not be a problem, it might go away, or it might rub against the tyres and cause punctures. So dramas for those 2 in the middle of the pack early on in the race, and you've got Dennis Olsen just behind Tim Heinemann in that battle as well. Tim Heinemann with the onboard camera here made a decent start to the race. He's picked up a few places already from 22nd on the grid. He's got a face full of smoke at the moment, and behind him the Porsche of Heinrich smoking as well, quite badly, getting worse and worse as they make their way out through turn 4, 5 and up to 6, and then out wide and into the gravel trap goes David Schumacher, I'm afraid, and that is potentially because of that bodywork rubbing on the tyre. It might have picked up a puncture, I'm afraid, which therefore is going to drop him way down the order. And yet he's absolutely cruising at the moment. I fear as well for the Porsche of Heinrich, which seemed to have even more smoke going. And there you go. It is a left rear puncture for Schumacher, and into the pits already comes the Porsche with its damaged car. Damaged tyre on the car. So Schumacher going very slowly, trying to limp the Mercedes back to the pits, trying not to cause any more damage to the car or the bodywork from the flailing tyre. And he's doing a good job here to stay just out of the way of everybody else. But it's a real shame for David, who's in his second season of DTM now, and managed to pick up his first points in his DTM career, last time out at Oschersleben. But I'm afraid it looks like this race, at least, he is going to have to retire the car from proceedings here at Zandvoort.
Yeah, copy. Let me know about traffic from the back, please.
If it's not possible to come back, look for a safe place to park the car.
So let's take a look at a replay of David Schumacher and potentially Lauren Heinrich here. Dennis Olsen, the bright green Porsche, was right behind Heinrich, so it might have been separate incidents, that. Not necessarily Schumacher and Heinrich coming together, because they're just coming into the back turn 14. The Porsches came together, and then that was the replay of David Schumacher, I'm afraid, running out wide and through the gravel trap, and did a good job actually to keep the car with only 3 tyres on the Mercedes out of the barriers there. A replay from Tim Heinemann, who was just behind all of the action here, and he was probably in the right place to pick up a couple of positions. There you see the smoke starting to pour from the Porsche of Lauren Heinrich, but it's Schumacher, I'm afraid, headed for retirement.
Got into a fight with another car, and in turn 12 he pushed me off wide, and then the car from behind hit me in the rear left tire, which caused me to have a puncture. And I thought that it's just a bit of debris scrubbing the tire, but in the end of the day it was more. And in the entry of turn 7 the tire exploded and I lost the car. Yeah, shame.
So back on track with Maro Engel just starting to edge away now from Sheldon van der Linde in the battle for the lead of the race. Van der Linde not really able to shake off Marco Wittmann, but in to serve a penalty. Through the penalty box comes Kelvin van der Linde, and also coming through is Patrick Niederhauser. Both of the cars out of position at the start of the race. So that's effectively going to cost both of them 5 seconds. There's Dennis Olsen firing his way past Patrick Niederhauser. And that's a real shame for both drivers who qualified really well, particularly Patrick Niederhauser in only his second weekend as a DTM driver. Both of those pair used to race together in the ADAC GT Masters Championship, van der Linde and Niederhauser. They won the title together in 2019, but they're both now going to plummet down the order as a result of that. So Kelvin van der Linde drops out of the top 10, and Niederhauser is back in the middle of the pack now as a result of that. There is the battle between Thomas Preining versus Aengen Nguyen. The pair of them battling over 12th position at the moment. Thomas Preining having slipped a couple of places from 10th on the grid. And here is a replay of what? Finding the limits and then going a bit beyond them, Thomas Preining. So that cost him potentially a position there to the Audi as he put a couple of wheels through the gravel trap. So yeah, he lost that place to Kelvin van der Linde, which is why he's dropped back into the clutches now of Aengen Nguyen, who is looking for his first points this weekend in DTM. He's driving the car that Thomas was driving last year for Team Bernhardt, with Thomas Preining having moved across to the Manthey team, famous German racing team, who've come back into the DTM for the first time in a long time. So it is Engel in the lead of the race, looking comfortable for now, but battle starting to brew further back and behind. Got a mandatory pit stop to come in the middle third of this 60-minute plus 1 lap race as well, between the 20th and 40th minute in the race. It'll be interesting to see how the strategies play out, because it's a fairly aggressive circuit on the tyres. Very hot conditions as well. Replay of what? This is side-by-side action here with Tim Heinemann and Ricardo Feller. And Feller getting as close as he dares. Coming through here, the Swiss driver, a race winner last year in the DTM at Imola, and on good form to be in the top 6 in the championship after the first weekend at Oschersleben. That was a good move from Ricardo, but he's having to come from a mid-grid position. Right, there's Albert Costa then, going out just in front of Lucas Stoltz. Great work from the team then to keep him ahead of the Mercedes, but by the finest of margins. There was almost a coming together there, but Lucas Stoltz there, from his point of view, had to just settle for it. He's trying to find a gap there on the pit lane exit, but there was no way through. So the Ferrari, the Emil Frey Racing Run car, going through. Albert Costa knows the team well, but when he's raced with them previously in the GT Masters Championship, it's been in a Lamborghini. But the Spanish driver, who's just guest driving this one weekend, is really enjoying the DTM. He'd like to come back and do more, he tells me, for the 2024 campaign if he can. He's a former winner of the Formula Renault Euro Cup when he was a young single-seater racer, going up against the likes of Jean-Eric Verne, who went on to become a Formula 1 racer, and two-time Formula E champion as well. Right, we've got car number 24 under investigation for an unsafe release as we get Luca Engel with a nice tidy move up the inside of Arjun Maini. You've got Dennis Olsen just behind in the Porsche trying to pick up the pieces as well. And Engel, the former TCR champion, one of the younger drivers in the field, with a good move there as we get the first of our real front runners then coming in to make the pit stop. Marco Wittmann in, and ideally you're looking for a 6-second stop. 7.5, 8 seconds is pretty good. That looked a little bit slow though from the team, but otherwise all okay. He's certainly going to come out to clear track here, Marco Wittmann, so he gets his mandatory stop out of the way fairly early on in the race. Is this going to work out for him? He was stuck behind Sheldon van der Linde in the battle for second place. He was all over the back of the reigning champion for a couple of laps before he came in, so maybe that's the reason why he's decided to come in. Now he's come out just in front of Mirko Bortolotti, who's already made his stop, and Mirko therefore has got his tyres up to temperature. It won't take long to get the tyres up to temperature on the BMW, but it's still going to take half a lap, and he's going to have to make it a very, very wide BMW now because Mirko Bortolotti is all over the back of him here as they go nose to tail through the dips and undulations here, the second sector. Down towards turn 7 they go then. The Lamborghini still all over the back of the BMW. It's twitching wide here, understeering. And Mirko now draws alongside and throws it down the inside. And that could be a critical move, potentially, for a podium position once all of the pit stops are done. That was a great effort from Mirko Bortolotti. He knew he had to do it there and then. As we got another couple of our front runners coming in, Sheldon van der Linde and Franck Pereira, who are both looking for a podium here as well if they can. And it wasn't a good pit stop at Oschersleben in the first race for the Schubert Motorsport team on Sheldon van der Linde. That cost him a chance of some good points there potentially from a lowly grid position, and he's managed to get out, yes, still just ahead of Pereira in the Lamborghini. So that was good work from Schubert, who had one bad pit stop last time out in Oschersleben, but last year they were a very good team in terms of their turnarounds for the drivers in the pits. So they go out. It's a long pit lane exit here as well as Maro Engel comes in then. So the pole sitter, the race leader, coming in to make his pit stop now. And in the Mercedes, he draws into the pit box. The rears have to be changed first. Sticker tyres going on. You get 4 sets of slicks here at Zandvoort to use for the 2 qualifyings and 2 races. And that all looks fairly smooth. He lights up the tyres, but you've got to stick to the pit lane speed limit. They're near the pit lane exit as well. And he's going to be released into clear track, it seems. So he should still be the net leader of the race. He's got a big gap, and then van der Linde and Pereira will be just coming out onto the start-finish straight now. They will catch him, but I don't think they're going to catch him enough to put him under pressure on his cold tyres. So they're in the net second place. Through goes van der Linde. So he'll be pleased if he can get a podium here after a pretty dreadful weekend last time out. So there's his brother, Kelvin van der Linde, trying to pick his way back up through the order as well. And onto the tail of the Porsche of Van Jingu, as he tries to get himself back up into the point in the top 15. He's going to go side by side with the Porsche, trying to go around the outside then through the banking. He's put up high and edges towards the tyre barrier, gets on the gas. He's got to watch the mirrors as well because you've got Engel just behind as well. A couple of others in that pack, including Dennis Olsen at the back of the train. Tim Heinemann's in there as well. Still trying to work his way up the order. He's on the onboard camera now as he comes in, and into the pits comes Thierry Vermeulen then, and the Ferrari makes its way, I'm afraid, into the garage with a problem. So Vermeulen is going to retire from his home race here at Zandvoort, and that's a real shame for the young charge, the former Porsche Benelux champion. Unlike a lot of drivers in the field, he didn't have that karting experience, so he's still relatively new to motorsport, but he's a fast learner, and I know his teammate this weekend, Albert Costa, has been very impressed with him, as we see Tim Heinemann and Dennis also going absolutely side by side, and Ricardo Feller is going to make it 3 abreast here in the blue Abt Audi. Down the inside he goes, he throws it over the curbs, he gets past everybody in the Audi. That was a great move from Ricardo. Dennis gains a position as well, and Tim Heinemann is going to lose 2, maybe 3 places here. It's going to be 3 places. He loses another one to Matteo Trudi on the way into turn 13. So you get offline just for a split second, somebody comes up the inside of you, and you lose 1, 2, 3 places in quick succession. And Heinemann had been going forward in this race from 22nd on the grid, but now there's a chance he won't pick up any points here, and that's going to drop him out of the championship lead. Engel in the lead, van der Linde in second. Pereira really is the one to watch in terms of championship points, because a third place as it stands would be enough to move the Frenchman up into the championship lead here, if he can. And now you've got the battle for fourth place between Franck's teammates Mirko Bortolotti and Marco Wittmann, who's got his tyres up to temperature now, that's for sure. He's all over the back of the Lamborghini, trying to scream his way through. That's the view back from Mirko Bortolotti's Lamborghini, and a menacing sight as the Project 1 BMW M4 comes right underneath his rear wing. He drops him a little bit on the way through turn 3, but you bet your house that Marco's going to come back at him under the braking zone on the way into turn 7, I reckon, at the top of the hill. But for now, a little bit of breathing space, at least for Franck Pereira, winner of round 1 of the championship. And the French driver, his first full season of DTM, had one guest weekend appearance at the Norris Ring last year. And that's the view from Mirko Bortolotti's wing mirror, looking back at that green BMW, getting bigger and closer and closer. Here's a replay then of just how close Marco Wittmann got to getting past Mirko Bortolotti, looking to go round the outside at Tarzan. But Mirko is a well switched on driver. He doesn't buckle under pressure, and he kept the Lamborghini on the racing line, despite the fact this BMW was almost dwarfing the Lamborghini, trying to come left of him, then to the right of him, and still not quite able to find a way past in this battle.
I mean, if the guy in front doesn't do a big mistake, then there's pretty much no chance. Obviously, I tried a lot with the flashlight, with the headlights, and trying to force him into a mistake, but at the end, the mistakes were not big enough to make a move.
So back on track, Maro Engel is looking more and more comfortable, but Sheldon van der Linde's still got work to do here in the battle for second place. From Pereira, he's going to keep him honest in these closing stages, and we are still going to have this really tight battle for fourth place between Bortolotti and Wittmann. Wittmann just will not give up. He's a tenacious driver. He'll be disappointed if he finishes 5th in this race, because I think a podium was on the cards. Third place for sure, maybe even a second place finish. However, here is the driver that comes around the final turn. It's been 6 years since he won his first and last DTM race. 6 years later, he's going to win by 6 seconds. He takes the checkered flag here at Zandvoort to win round number 3 of DTM 2023, with Sheldon van der Linde crossing the line in second, and Franck Pereira in third place, getting his second podium finish of the year, and therefore moving up and back up into the championship lead. Wow, what a result for Maro Engel. There's his wife, who's come to support him this weekend. That's the only mistake he's made, like just nudging the number 1 podium and knocking the BWT bottle off, but he's absolutely delighted with that, as you can imagine.
Yeah, it's perfect weekend so far. Great day for us. It's quite the race that you wish for when you're starting on pole. You know, to be able to build a gap and have a quiet, calm race is obviously the dream.
And a really strong second place finish here for Sheldon van der Linde.
Yeah, it was a really good start. Obviously, good qualifying this morning, which is probably the key to success today. You can't really overtake here, and our race pace wasn't great, to be honest. So we weren't the fastest car on track, but we started at the front, and that's what matters here in Zandvoort.
And from 4th on the grid, Franck Pereira is the driver that completes the podium here at Zandvoort.
Yeah, I think we did a good pit stop. I think I'm also improving in the in and out lap, because also for me it's the first time, you know, with the cold tires, you know. For sure the guys who were here last year, 2 years ago, they have a bit more experience on that. But I made a lot of progress from previous race, and I think that's where I gained my podium.
So 3 races so far this season, 3 different winners, 3 different brands taking victories. Mercedes on top this time though, with Maro Engel ahead of Sheldon van der Linde and Franck Pereira. Mirko Bortolotti worked hard to fend off Marco Wittmann for that 4th place. Lucas Hauer from 12th on the grid, doing a great job to 6th place. Thomas Preining from 10th on the grid to 7th on his debut. Albert Costa coming in the top 10 as well. Likewise for Dries van Toor. But there will be disappointment for a few drivers further down the order. Kelvin van der Linde, there was much more on the cards in that race, but the penalty in the end put him down to 12th, and no points for the driver that started the day as the championship leader, Tim Heinemann, back in 19th place. Likewise, Christian Engelhardt, 0 points. He was the driver second in the championship after winning one of the races at Oschersleben. Penalty in this race as well, in a lowly grid position, cost him any chance of points in this first race at Zandvoort. Time then for the podium presentations here. The first of the weekend, and a fantastic feeling. It was 2017 at Moscow in very different DTM cars that we last saw Maro Engel on the top step of a DTM podium. That time it was from 17th on the grid. This time it's from pole position, his second career pole position in the DTM. The Landgraf Motorsport team have done a superb job as well to get their man onto the top of the podium. He was quickest in free practice 1, quickest in free practice 2, fastest in qualifying, pole position, and a lights to flag victory to take the spoils in this third weekend of the season. They enjoy a selfie down there on the podium, their man on the top step, and a great relief as well for Sheldon van der Linde to pick up his first silverware at the start of this defence of his first championship title in the DTM. A great start to the weekend. Before the battle of the horsepower really got underway, there were already some initial encounters just a few metres away from the racetrack, and all of this on unfamiliar terrain. Local hero Thierry Vermeulen and Porsche driver Tim Heinemann could compete in different disciplines.
It was good fun, and I think this is also good for the people at home to get a bit to know the drivers, and so it was a fun activity.
Ricardo Feller and Kelvin van der Linde from Audi Team Abt were also looking for a maritime challenge, this time on 3 wheels instead of 4. Somehow it was clear that racing drivers couldn't live without a bit of adrenaline.
It was a really cool experience. We arrived there with the Abt bus on the beach, and the atmosphere on the beach is anyway very cool, and we love to come here to Zandvoort. And it was the first time that I drove a little bit different car, I would say, and I already rolled, but luckily I didn't hurt myself, and it was a cool start into the weekend.
Wind, water and especially speed suit nobody as well as this man, windsurfing legend Bjørn Dunkerbeck. The world's most successful professional athlete didn't miss the races on the North Coast either. A career change and a move into a cockpit is not out of the question.
No, really, I don't really drive that good. I mean, I've been doing a couple of training courses, and that's when you really feel and get to know how bad you drive a car.
And he wasn't disappointed. Got to see a lot of race action.
Well, Zandvoort has been very big for windsurfing, especially in the 90s. We had many World Cups here, so it's actually like a coming home for me, more or less. Also, my father is half my Dutch and my mother from Denmark, and I haven't been here in many years in Zandvoort, so it's actually quite nice to be here. Lots of action, lots of fans, great weather. What more can we ask for?
Coming from the beach directly to the hot racetrack, and indeed it is a hot day today, and we're looking forward to a very exciting race. So let's do it, fasten your seatbelts and let's get racing.
So the cars on the grid getting set for the second race of the weekend here at Zandvoort. Thierry Vermeulen hoping for a much better race 2. The home hero, the only Dutch driver in the field with a retirement in race 1 in the Emil Frey Racing Ferrari. Let's see if he has a better race 2 here at Zandvoort. It's going to be a hot one though, as there is Maro Engel trying to stay shaded, fresh from the success of his race 1 victory, trying to stay fresh and cool. Being sprayed down here is David Schumacher. It's going to be 30 degrees plus, the hottest day of the weekend, and close to 60 degrees inside the cockpits of those cars. And here on the grid is former Belgian world-class goalkeeper Jean-Marie Pfaff, who celebrated great success in club football with FC Bayern Munich. He's amongst the guests on the grid, enjoying the build-up to this fourth round of DTM 2022. He's also going to get the race underway. It's a very beautiful track. I hope for no accidents and that the best wins. I keep my fingers crossed for Abt. It's nice that we can experience this again here in 2023. So once again, a real test awaits the drivers here at Zandvoort. That run into turn 1 at Tarzan. It's a big looping hairpin. It squeezes up and gets tighter on the way out of the corner. And there have been incidents there in the past on that run down then to turn 3. They have to attack and get a good run out of the banked corner here, because there's a steep uphill section on the run from turn 3 all the way to the top of the hill at turn 7. Downhill and flat then through the middle of the course, and then the banking here at the final turn. Harry Lyondike turn as they come out of the 18-degree banking the circuit which was remodelled in 2020, but which dates all the way back to the 1940s. Maro Engel then, who moved up to third place in the championship with his second win in DTM. He, as a result of that victory, has to carry 20 kilograms of success ballast, but has qualified well here, third on the grid. Then Thomas Preining starting second. He was on provisional pole until the closing stages of qualifying this morning. There was a red flag, a delay. Lots of drivers had not set quick lap times. Ricardo Feller went out, got to the head of the queue and beat Thomas Preining to pole position, his second career pole position. Let's see if he can convert this one, as he did at Imola last year, into a race victory. Start your engines, says Jean-Marie Pfaff. The crowd gathered up, trying to stay cool in the shade here, but ready for action for DTM Race 2 here. We've had 3 different winners so far this season. Will we get a fourth? With Ricardo Feller and Thomas Preining on the front row of the grid. Maro Engel and Patrick Niederhauser on row 2. Lauren Heinrich and Lukas Stolz on row 3. And then we got Marco Wittmann, Ayenjan Nguyen, Dennis Olsen and Kelvin van der Linde all rounding out the top 10 on the grid. Ready for another 60-minute plus 1 lap race here. There's Martin Tomczyk, former champion in DTM, now team chief with Abt Sportsline. And then Mrs. Engel in the garage, hoping that Maro can get more success here. Let's see what he can do from third on the grid, but with that success ballast as the lights go out, the race gets underway. And Ricardo Feller has had the perfect start here from pole position. He's going to lead the charge, and into second place goes Maro Engel down the inside of Thomas Preining's Porsche. So great start for Maro here. The race 1 winner up to second place. A good start as well for Lauren Heinrich in the next Porsche. He's up to fourth position. He's got ahead of Patrick Niederhauser, and then it is Marco Wittmann who's gained a place as well from 7th up to 6th place. Lukas Stolz and Dennis Olsen going side by side just behind him as they make their way out of turn 3 for the first time in the race. Plunging downhill to turn 4, uphill then the climb through turns 5 and 6. The cars thunder up to top speed. There's damage to the front of the Mercedes of Lucas Auer though. He's already in trouble here, and look, going slowly, trying to pull out of the line and get out of the way of everybody else, because I think he might already be thinking about heading back to the pits with damage not just to the bonnet but perhaps elsewhere on the car. And I'm afraid the driver that was 6th yesterday from 12th on the grid is getting even slower, and last year's championship runner-up Lucas Auer, the Austrian, looks like he is pit bound, and that might already be the end of his race before it's even really ever got going. Meanwhile, the cars thunder through here. Kelvin van der Linde going on the attack here as well, side by side with the Emil Frey Racing Albert Costa driven Ferrari. Great battles going on there. Ayenjan Nguyen just behind as well. And here we've got Sheldon van der Linde to the left of your picture trying to make his way through as well. Tim Heinemann with the onboard camera going side by side with his teammate Christian Engelhardt, who then gets a bit of a tap just behind from Sheldon van der Linde. The driver that finished on the podium yesterday and won the championship last year in the red and yellow BMW, trying to come from 17th on the grid in this one. He would have been stone last on the grid had he not improved on his very final lap in those closing seconds. There was a red flag in qualifying, and then everybody else got to do just one more lap when things restarted. But he wasn't really able to improve that much. So lots of scrambling going on here. That's from Pereira coming through in the Lamborghini. He's a long way down the grid as well, the championship leader. So it's completely mixed up order, as I'm afraid into the pit lane comes Lucas Auer, and the Winwood squad are about to receive their car much earlier than anticipated. It looks like he's going straight into the garage, I'm afraid, and straight into retirement for Lugi. So Feller leads in the early stages of this race. Engel in second place. Preining third position, looking for his second podium of the season so far. And with the points he picked up in qualifying this morning, Thomas Preining moved ahead of Maro Engel by 1 point and up into third place in the championship. But remember, the championship leader from Pereira, a long way down the order, has to get into the top 15 just to get into the championship points. So Feller edging away then from the Mercedes of Engel, who might struggle as the race wears on with that extra ballast on the car. Everybody gets 4 sets of new slick tyres here. 4 new sets of Pirellis to use across 2 qualifyings and 2 races. They all use a new set in each qualifying session. It means that in the race you will use one half of the race, you'll use your brand new slicks. The other half of the race you'll have to use slightly used slicks, and where you are on the grid affects which part of the race you use your better tyres. Sheldon van der Linde has got a good set of grip here though. He's got up the inside of Tim Heinemann coming through the banking. He's going to gain another place back on board with Tim now, and Sheldon making good progress here, the South African, as we get a replay of the start. Always good at the front of the field, but look back to Lucas Auer. I think this is where he picked up his damage in the Mercedes. Yes, there was the tag. It was with Sheldon van der Linde, who was then in a sandwich between him and the BMW, the blue BMW of Dries van Tuyl, the guest driver this weekend, who's standing in for the three-time champion at Rally Rast. The three of them coming together on the start-finish line before the race had even really got going, and I think that was where the damage came to the Mercedes of Luca Zauer as you go on board with Mirko Bortolotti, who was right behind all of that action there as well. Sheldon van der Linde just ahead, with Tim Heinemann going wheel to wheel with him as well, and this was the perspective on board the Porsche of Tim Heinemann as he tried to squabble away there. That was him actually coming past Luca Zauer, who'd already picked up that damage to the Mercedes and had started to go backwards. This is the great grille onboard camera looking from the front of the BMW of Marco Wittmann, who from the fourth row of the grid had a pretty good start. So he went on the attack. Just ahead of him is the Porsche of Lauren Heinrich. To the left is Patrick Niederhauser in the orange and black Audi, and that was where Heinrich got at the inside of Niederhauser on the way into turn 1 at Tarzan. Thierry Vermeulen, further back down the grid, was trying to scramble his way up the order as well, and that was the rear-facing camera looking back at Franck Pereira, one of the drivers out of position after that qualifying session this morning. Now look at this, Sheldon van der Linde onto the case of former TCR Touring Car champion Luca Engstler, and the youngster has got the inside line, but the BMW's really got on the brakes into Tarzan. He's still halfway alongside Sheldon van der Linde. He's going to go side by side on the way through turn 2. There's a left-hander coming up at turn 3. He's not there yet. He's scrambling for the inside line. He sends the BMW at the inside. The Audi goes high through the banking here at turn 3, and Luca Engstler bravely clings onto his position here. You might be the champion, he said. I might be the new boy, but I'm not going to give my position up. And the Liquid Moly Audi stays just ahead. The cars skip and hop and dance over the tarmac, but Engstler just about holds onto the position on the way into the right-hander at Tarzan. But coming back at him now on the run downhill into turn 8 is Sheldon van der Linde. And finally, after half a lap running side by side, he gets through and gains another position. This is determined stuff from Sheldon van der Linde to get up the order. He's up into the points now. He's also trying to follow his brother through the order, who had a slightly better qualifying, but not a great one, in the number 3 Audi. So he's just a couple of, or in fact one place ahead of him now, trying to charge up the order as well. The pair of South African brothers had a historic 1-2 finish at the Nürburgring last year, so we get more side-by-side action here. And that is Lauren Heinrich trying to pull off a move with Patrick Niederhauser trying to come back at him. These two are side-by-side at the first corner. Niederhauser is going to get the place back by the looks of it. And right behind them with the onboard camera, this is Marco Wittmann in the Project 1 BMW, fresh off the back of his 5th place finish yesterday, his best result so far in the second weekend of the championship for the 2-time champion. Didn't get any points at Oschersleben, and he's with the new team to the DTM Project 1. So number 83 Niederhauser doing a good job there. He's a former ADAC GT Masters champion, and he was unlucky not to be high up in the points yesterday, but for a penalty he would have been. That was for a start line infringement. As out wide goes Lauren Heinrich, and the BMW of Marco Wittmann sees a gap. He doesn't need a second invitation, pulls off the move on the way to turn 8, and then Lukas Stoltz is going to pounce as well, because he's on the back foot in the Porsche here. The white turquoise and black Porsche of Lauren Heinrich loses another place. He's got Dennis Olsen behind him as well in the bright green Manthey EMA Porsche, maybe about to spring an attack on the run into the chicane at turns 11 and 12. And it just shows how competitive and close it is here in the DTM. Well, look at this. More progress being made by Sheldon van der Linde. We know he's good on the brakes on the way into turn 1. He's about to dive up the inside and gain yet another place. So good move that to get up on the Ferrari as he continues to push further and further up the order. He's onto the tail now of Ayen Nguyen, who is in his first full season of the championship, and looking for his best finish, his first top 10 finish of the season so far with Timo Bernhard's squad. And here we go into the pit lane now. We have got the Audi of Patrick Niederhauser. So he's the first of the front runners to come in and make a pit stop. You change the rears first, then you change the fronts. You have to stick to the pit lane speed limit. There's no refueling. Away goes Patrick Niederhauser. And, oh, that is close. They're side by side coming out of the pits here. And Patrick Niederhauser is just about going to stay ahead here of Kelvin van der Linde. They must have had a really good stop at Abt, because Kelvin came into the pits a good 2 or 3 seconds behind Patrick Niederhauser. Patrick then just getting out in time. ahead of Kelvin van der Linde. But was it a safe release or was it an unsafe release? In which case the stewards might look at it. And I'm afraid if that's the case, Patrick might be on the way to another penalty, which is a real shame for him because he's been superb behind the wheel of that car so far this weekend and has had little reward. These two were teammates together and won the ADAC GT Masters Championship 4 years ago, and they got a bit too close for company on the way out of the pit lane there. No contact, but they were very close to it. Luckily, the two Audis just about fit and managed to get through without hitting one another, but that was all very tight indeed. So Marco Wittmann has been one of the stars here on track this weekend, but he's about to have to go defensive because Patrick Niederhauser comes through. Marco's just come out of the pits on cold tyres, so he's pretty defenceless to stop the Audi coming through and up the inside of him. And it's all kicking off here just behind as well because he's got Kelvin van der Linde trying to get through as well, the driver that was third in the championship 2 years ago. And a bit of a rough 2022 in the DTM, but that car is competitive, he's quick, and he just hasn't had great qualifying so far this year as Kelvin. But into the penalty box comes Patrick Niederhauser, so he has picked up a penalty for an unsafe release. That's cost him 2 places. He just got back ahead of Wittmann. Wittmann's got him, and so too Kelvin van der Linde. So 2 places lost. It might be more if others come out of the pits once they make their pit stops.
Let's say I just take the penalty, and I respect the decision from race control for this. I think it was quite a tough penalty. I didn't really feel anything dangerous there, but for this it was a real shame because the potential was there for a podium.
But he should, although he's not going to fight for a podium now, he should still be able to get a top 10 finish with this. As Albert Costa in the Ferrari, who won at Le Mans in the LMP2 category a few weeks before this weekend, continues to march on. We've got the BMW at the inside of the Porsche as Wittmann gets at the inside of Dennis Olsen on the cold tyres, and Kelvin van der Linde follows him through. Dennis Olsen up high and wide through the banking, losing 2 places. He's just come out of the pits, and on the cold tyres, even in hot conditions like this, it still takes about half a lap to get those new tyres up to speed and getting any kind of grip out of them. So through they came, and the race leader now comes in and makes his stop in the pit stop window, the 20-minute window in the middle of the race where they've all got to come in and change tyres. And so too we've got Maro Engel in as well, so the top 2 in. Ricardo Feller was around about 3 seconds clear of Maro Engel, so he should be able to get out plenty ahead of him, and once everybody else makes their pit stops, these should remain the top 2. Certainly Ricardo Feller is going to be well clear still of the Mercedes of Maro Engel, but here come the rest of the runners. Thomas Preining, he's going to get past Maro Engel before Maro gets back onto the track, so he's going to lose that place and maybe a couple more as well as he gets up to speed. Lucas Stoltz and the HRT squad have had a really good pit stop window, so the Mercedes gets through as well, and Marco Wittmann's going to try as well, isn't he, at turn 3. Yes, he whips all the way around the outside of Maro Engel, but he's powerless to stop those 3 cars all coming past him as he gets his tyres up to temperature. Kelvin van der Linde, though, might just get stuck behind Maro Engel because there's no way through here, and all the time Mercedes is getting its tyres up to temperature. He's still just about keeping Kelvin van der Linde behind him. This is going to be tight on the run downhill as Sheldon van der Linde comes in now to make his stop. He'd actually picked up the race lead, but actually he should filter back into the top 10 somewhere, just about, once everybody else makes their pit stop. So from 17th on the grid, that's not going to be a bad turnaround. There is Thomas Preining coming through with Lucas Stoltz just behind.
We have no chance. We have no TC for now. We keep going. We are running P2.
So into the banking at turn 3 goes Thomas Preining, and he's not close enough to really attack Ricardo Feller, but second place would be an excellent result here. That car hasn't been on absolute top form this weekend. That was a replay of Marco Wittmann, high, wide and handsome, all the way around the top of the banking at turn 3 when he got past Maro Engel. He was getting his tyres up to temperature. Mrs. Engel, hearted mouth moment there.
We knew it was going to be tough with the 20 kilos success ballast. Had a good start moving up into P2. Tried everything to go as fast as possible, but no chance to keep up with Ricardo there. And at the pit stop, we had a small hiccup, but those things happen. And in the end, we take the points for P5, which is still a good result.
Not so for Albert Costa Balboa. I'm afraid he's got a problem with the Ferrari, and he's headed back to the pits. There's Bernd Schneider, the 5-time DTM champion, and a replay then of the Ferrari pulling off the circuit been a real shame because Albert Costa has been a real star this weekend on his DTM debut. He said he wants to come back and do more DTM racing in the future, and we'd welcome him back. He's been excellent company, and we wish him well for the rest of his World Endurance Championship campaign in the LMP2 car. So meanwhile, Ricardo Feller continues to lead here.
Okay, now you have Preining behind, the gap is 2 seconds.
So Ricardo Feller on his way here, looking good. Thomas Preining, I don't think it's got any answer to him. And we've had team radio to say that Thomas Preining has had one or two issues with his traction control as well, which will not help the Porsche, given there are so many second gear corners here. Oh, what's that? Tim Heinemann kicking up the dust, and that was on the run out of turn 3. Not the first time Tim has been off the road. That Porsche has been a bit of a handful this weekend, and the driver that came into Zandvoort as the championship leader with 2 second place finishes at Oschersleben, looks like he might not get any points here. He was running high around the banking and just clipped there by Arjun Maini. So the front right of Arjun's Mercedes and the back left of the Porsche came together. That was what sent Tim Heinemann off the road on the exit to turn 3. And we've had a lot of retirements from this race. These are the last 2 runners, but both of them look like they're going to fail to get into the top 15 and therefore fail to get into the championship points. So 2 seconds at Oschersleben, 2 non-point scoring finishes here for Tim Heinemann at Zandvoort. We're on the final lap of the race then, and Ricardo Feller is looking more and more comfortable in the lead of the race. We've got Thomas Preining in 2nd position. 3rd place though is still up for discussion because Marco Wittmann has been shadowing Lukas Stolz for a number of laps now, trying desperately to find a way past, and he will not give up. He felt like a podium should have been on the cards yesterday. The team had a bad pit stop. They lost about 3.5 seconds in their pit stop. Ultimately, that was why Marco, instead of finishing 2nd or 3rd, finished in 5th place. It was still a good result for the team, but not the result that Marco, as an 18-time race winner in DTM, wanted. He desperately wants to get the first podium in the championship for Project One Racing, but he might have to wait until the Norris Ring to do that, because Lukas Stolz has really done well here to soak up the pressure in that HRT Mercedes. He had an awful weekend. The team had an awful weekend at Oschersleben. Damage to the car to replace the car after testing. They were up all night doing that. He had another retirement in the race. He scored nothing in the way of decent points that weekend, so it's testament to their work that if he can hang on to this, he'll be able to pick up silverware here just a few weeks later at Zandvoort. Lukas Stolz going through the chicane for the final time in the race then, and that might be enough to seal him his first podium finish of the year as he heads towards turn 13. Thomas Preining looks safe in 2nd place, but the race leader is going to become the race winner. It is Ricardo Feller who takes his first victory of the season. Thomas Preining comes home in 2nd, and just about Lukas Stolz is going to hang on to 3rd place.
Very good one.
Well done, Ricardo Feller. You are the 4th different race winner of the season. 4 races, 4 different winners, and we've had victories for 4 different brands now. Lamborghini and Porsche at Oschersleben, and here at Zandvoort, Mercedes won yesterday, and today it is the turn of Audi to take their first victory. And Ricardo Feller with his first victory since his maiden victory at Imola last season. So 39 laps complete in the race, and Thomas Preining and Lukas Stolz joined Ricardo Feller on the podium. Marco Wittmann in 4th, Maro Engel in 5th place, Kelvin van der Linde in 6th, with Guven, Niederhauser, Olsen and Sheldon van der Linde rounding out the top 10. Mirko Bortolotti has scored points in all the races so far this season. Not the result he wanted from a lowly group position, but it's more useful points. And there were a lot of retirements in that race, including Lucas Auer right at the start of the race. Aaron Heinrich early on as well with damage to his car. And Dries van Teur retired as well after damage on that incident on the start line. Ricardo Feller, meanwhile, though, gets out of the car, punches the air. He's a winner in DTM. He's been driving beautifully so far this season. The team did a great job to get him out there in qualifying at the head of the queue, and he's won the race.
We had everything under control today, which is very nice, especially after yesterday. It was a tough race. The guys did an amazing job overnight, so yeah, perfect day.
And a great result for Thomas Preining, 2nd podium of the season and the championship lead.
It was not easy. We were struggling with the rear axle most of the race, and also Maro got a better start than me, so I was P3, but luckily my boys in the pit lane at the pit stop, they did a fantastic job, and also the strategy was on point, so we managed to get the position back, and it's definitely more than what we expected.
And great to see Luca Stoltz getting third place, his first podium of the season.
Credits to the team because they did an awesome job. They had to rebuild the car after Ausschussleben, after I had a crash in free practice, and they did a great pit stop today. So yeah, it's good to be back in the podium ranks.
So it's time for the podium presentations and podium celebrations here at a very hot Zandvoort. The race action has been excellent. We've had another 2 different winners, another 2 different pole sitters, and a championship which continues to be blown wide open. But many congratulations to Ricardo Feller, the race winner, who positively leaps off the top step of the podium. He is very much in this championship fight now after all the points he's picked up with that race win here in race 2 of the weekend. Well done to the Abt Sportsline team as well. So Thomas Preining moving into the championship lead for the first time this season. 55 points, yet to score a win, but he's at the top of the table with Ricardo Feller's victory putting him up to second on 51. And from Pereira, who led at the start of the day, is there in third place on 50 points, just ahead of Maro Engel, Tim Heinemann and Mirko Bortolotti. So there the championship standings, with 1 or 2 others to play catch-up now, including René Rast, who of course missed this weekend because of his Formula E commitments. It's been a terrific weekend here at Zandvoort. We're going to do it all again at the Norris Ring in a couple of weeks' time. And could we possibly have a 5th or maybe even a 6th different race winner, and maybe even a different driver at the top of the championship table? It is going to be quite the season of DTM.
And we will see you in 2 weeks at the Norris Ring. We're very excited to, for the 3rd race weekend of the season. And now hear the highlights of Zandvoort, and we're going to enjoy some of the sunshine. So see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.